So I was reading this article that came out today, Severe Mental Illness, the Ignored Public Health Crisis. Yes, it definitely is, and there's many layers to that problem. But to get to the root of it, because we have to go to the source, because they know more about a lot of the mental illnesses. I mean, I'm not talking, some of them, in regards to hearing voices, let's say. So first I want to say this article, it talked about a mother. She's like 60. She has a son that has psychosis, schizophrenia, I believe. And she's worried that he could just do like what the main shooter did and go in and start shooting up a bowling alley. Look, for all the people that are schizophrenia that I've taken care of or psychotic, and I mean psychosis where they're hearing voices or they're having all that stuff, most of them are not violent. Can they be? Yes. But most are more that they want to hurt themselves, or not even that. That's just not. And actually, I read an article, not this one, another one that said no, it's very rare that those are the people going in all of a sudden. I think that really what has to be looked at here is the CIA involved with our medical, military, industrial complex. Okay, that's what has to be looked at, because of what has already been exposed. You can look up the hearings, not a conspiracy theory, all of the different mind controls using psychedelics and all these different crazy things that scientists did with the CIA, and I'm going to show a couple. But this is what the CIA's history has been. So people need to understand that schizophrenia people aren't just going to snap and then get a gun and go and just shoot up a bowling alley. Like that's there's something else going on there. Like, and they said this guy in Maine had mental illness, okay, and that he was hearing voices. Okay, well, I think that that's the part we need to get to the bottom of. And then it went on to say, because I think this stuff seems to happen right around the time the Democrats always want to take guns, okay? There's always mass shooting. We got to now talk about mental health, and we have to talk about banning guns. Okay, well, that's not the answer. And first of all, when people come in mental health crisis, one of the biggest things we do ask, it's a criteria, is do you have firearms at home? So and they in most states, I believe the family has to come and take them out of the home, or if we're going to when we send them back home. So there's many layers to why this is a problem, and but I think going to the root of it and knowing where much of it developed is what's most important. Here's why. People were told 20 years ago this stuff is all a conspiracy. Well, now it's come to be true. There's tons of articles you can find out about this. It's in congressional records because of hearings they've done with the CIA. Okay, you have people that have gone on Joe Rogan and talked about it. Okay, so this is no longer a conspiracy, even though our government told us 20 years ago it all is. But the CIA's secret quest for mind control, torture, LSD, and a prisoner-in-chief. I'm not going to get into this article. I'm just showing this is one of many. Harvard, the university itself, and others were doing mind control like experiments and pressuring students on their campuses way back in the day, and probably continue on because of this the military and their quest with science to know how to control the brain, because it'll help in warfare, right? But this stuff went off the rails a long time ago. And again, for people that think that this is just a rare occurrence, no, this is the CIA's history, okay? And most of the time, they're not telling you. Just think about that for a minute. I'm not going to say anything more. But there's a ton of areas where, like, Bill Clinton came out and apologized to the people that were involved, that were lied to in Tuskegee. So people just think, oh, well, it ended there. So this is one I just wanted to mention before getting to the whole, mental illness thing. But use of vaccination program and hunt for Osama bin Laden. The agency attracted widespread criticism after it used a local doctor in Pakistan to set up a hepatitis B vaccination program in Abbottabad in 2011 to obtain DNA samples from the occupants of a compound where it was suspected bin Laden was living, hoping to obtain samples from bin Laden or his children in order to confirm his presence. It is unknown whether any useful DNA was acquired from the program, but it was deemed not successful. The doctor was later arrested. So, yeah, I mean, they do this all the time, really. Like, at Northwestern to do TB tests now, and they're the only place that has done this. It's still usually the old way where you have it's a little subdermal needle and it makes a little bubble under your skin and you go back in 48 hours and get checked. At Northwestern, to test for TB, they took 5 huge vials of blood. 5. I mean, bigger. They were bigger tubes than what in the ER we would draw. It's like, for TB? No, because they do this all the time with the CIA. It's the military medical industrial complex, and the CIA is like the right hand people of them. So, moving on. I came across this one, but unfortunately, there's so many that you can find. Danish orphans used in secret basement experiments backed by CIA. Yes, here's another article because it's not just some, crazy conspiracy site. With intent to harm the CIA schizophrenia in Denmark's children. This was January of last year. So it has become, I'm going to read from this. It has some of it. It has become common fare to read ghoulish stories of child abuse in institutions supposedly created to care for the vulnerable. Orphanages, homes, religious orders have tended to feature, along with their assortment of innumerable sadists and pederasts. But in December, another institution caused ripples for its alleged role in abusing children. A Danish radio documentary series, The Search for Myself, did not hold back in leveling claims against the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency that it had financially aided experiments on 311 Danish children in the early 1960s. A good number of them were orphans or adopted. They always are. One, not always, but in many cases. In one such victim was the documentary maker Pierre Wennick, who claims that he was subjected to tests with no knowledge of their background in the basement of the municipal hospital in Copenhagen. These were supposedly designed to investigate links between heredity and environmental factors in engendering schizophrenia, work inspired by the psychologist Sarnoff Medic. Of particular interest in the experiment in question were the children of schizophrenic mothers. Of the 311 children, 207 had such mothers, while the rest, who had constituted the control group, did not. Wennick was in the latter group. As with previous experiments of such ilk, Wennick received shallow enticements without information. It was not difficult. He was 11, having grown up in the orphanage. He was promised something exciting. He would also get 16 kroner. I guess kroner is their money currency. He sat in a chair, had headphones placed upon him, and was subjected to statements, screams, and noises designed to frighten. Electrodes were placed upon his body, his heart rate, body temperature, and sweat level measured. Interest from U.S. authorities was piqued given the attractiveness of Denmark's central population register, something lacking in the U.S. The register enabled a tracking of individuals through the course of their lives and led to a lengthy collaboration between Mednick and the Danish professor based at the municipal hospital. The latter would make much use of the project in his 1977 doctoral dissertation. Usually, Schulsinger's thesis was not subject to the usual public defense and was done behind closed doors. But he was praised by all the academics, yes, because he was the head of the Psychological Institute at that hospital. So this is just one of many cases, and I'm going to do another video about another one, but there's so many out there. So I think in order to really understand the mental health crisis when it comes to hearing voices, we need to go to when the root of the problem began, because some of it, I think, it comes from the military medical industrial